Hi everyone and welcome back to Roll for Damage. Today I have back with me again Sean from ParadiceRPG to tell me a story about his D&D experiences. Hi Sean.
Hey everybody.
What story do you have for us today?
Hey, well, I shared some other stories, but today I wanted to talk about a particular thing that happened in Shannon and I's home game. Our, near and dear to our heart, our one, true original D&D campaign. Very early on in that game, a little bit of background, not too much. That game started because I just became obsessed with D&D, of course, where we are now. And I was like, I must play more. And I must DM. The second I even thought, I bought the DM's guide, and I was like, yes, this is everything. I will do this.
It do be like that,
yep. Yeah, it's exactly what happens. You read like the first sentence, and they're like, you get to do this. And you're like, yes, please. Oh, I can create a world? Even better. So I worked, the first day we talked about playing D&D, I was randomly with my best friend and a new friend, actually, that was a boyfriend of one of our mutual friends, who now is a really close friend, and they're married now. It's great, but that's a sidetrack. We were like, we're playing D&D. Flash forward 3 months later, after I sat there for 3 months at work, most of the time it was at work, creating this world, and no one had really played that much before. I think me and one other person had played a lot. We wrangled in Shannon's husband. He was like, oh, Shannon wants to play too, which we were like, we were friends with Shannon in high school, but we never really did any nerdy things with her, and bringing her into this suddenly blew everything up. She had never played before. They had never played before. I had never DM'd before. So this story is about the first time as a DM I was ever surprised by what the players did. Because they were pretty firmly railroaded at first because they were all new. So I was like, all right, first encounters are things where you have to do stuff instead of just like being, I'm gonna, wander around town. I was like, no, like the tavern's on fire. Things are happening. Yeah. Although, just real quick, funniest thing, my friend Brian, his first move as a rogue was the windows got blown out of the tavern. Everyone is in the air being flown back, and he says to me, can I pickpocket this person while I'm flying through the air? And I'm like, oh, we've got some things to work out of you. You got some stuff you got to work out in this first few sessions. Because he's the like cliche, I pickpocket them rogue, and I'm like, they're standing right in front of you. How do you want to pickpocket them?
Yeah, and like let's land first, buddy, and then we can talk about the pickpocketing.
Exactly. Yeah, we had this meme because I'd have him roll anyway, because very early on I was very much the always roll, even if it's impossible. And I would just be like, you got a comb. They have a comb in their pocket for brushing their hair. That's all you got.
Yeah. And
he just had this collection of combs. But it's funny because at first he was someone who was like, oh, we need you to be a little bit less roguey. But now I'd say he's one of the best RPers ever. I wish he would stream, but he refuses. He doesn't want to stream. I'm like, you should stream. You're such a good RPer now. But once they started to get a little bit of freedom, and I was like, all right, no more railroading. You guys kind of get to choose what you're doing now. There's obviously a story in front of you you can engage in right away. And, they pretty much right away did the story. And there's there's this one moment where they had to rescue, or they had to essentially assassinate a leader of a rebel force on behalf of the king of this country, and they were sent in and to sneak into this town, and they got in pretty smoothly. They were doing really well. One of the players has like a harpoon gun that they got off at one point. The pirate bard, of course, and he uses it to get up into a balcony of the fortress that this leader is in. And they've heard all these bad things about him. This character's particular motivation, though, is like, I'm on no one's side as far as like the wars of the world. So he pulls himself up, and I'm expecting him to throw the chain down and let them climb up. And he's like, no. I go and start exploring the fortress. And I'm like, by yourself? The big bad guy by yourself? and he's like, yep. And I'm like, okay. And then down there, they just start doing, you know, what you do as D&D characters when you're on your own. They're like, we're going to plant some bombs. I'm like, okay.
Just normal D&D things. Yeah.
Because I was creating my world. I'd introduced this idea that like materials from other planes of existence that come into the material plane are volatile, and they can be, there's a particular one called Facidian that is highly explosive, and that rogue had earlier been like, I put it in my canteen and I take it. And I'm like, oh god.
Yep.
But this bard though, he's up there and he's sneaking around. He's doing really well because he's a really good player. Like he's really good at melding RP, and like he knows how to play the game. So he's sneaking around, and he reaches a point, and I'm like, all right, well, you presume this door leads to his quarters where he is, where he's orchestrating all of this. And he's like, I go inside, and I immediately said, sneakily? Stealthily? Sneaky? And he's like, no, you heard me correctly. I opened the door and walk in. And I was like, all right. And, you know, I've only DM'd like, at this point, maybe 5 games. I think this might have been like 5 or 6 or 7 sessions in. And I'm like, I don't know what he's going to do next. Should I kill him? Should I just kill him? I might just kill him. And then he proceeds to RP a massive betrayal of his party and the country that sent him in to assassinate this guy. And I was just taken aback by it entirely. And the table like was taken aback. Shannon's husband was absolutely like, his mouth was agape. He was like, you son of a bitch. But essentially, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna, I could have honestly just killed him on it right there. But I was like, no, this surprised me. You rolled well, and your persuasions and everything. We're gonna run with it. You're gonna get a little bit of pain from this. He's not gonna just walk away. But it was this beautiful moment, and dramatic, perfect story point. Hilariously, this whole time, Alex from ParadiceRPG was playing with us too, but he was asleep in the corner because he doesn't stay up late. But he was asleep during this entire part. They had to say his character was watching the horses outside of the fortress that they snuck into. But it was just this great moment. You know, I still had the guy like shoot him with a firebolt, and then like, you know, typical DM stuff, mark him with a mark, you can track him by, blah blah blah. But find me here if you really want to join my side, because it was really just this really great moment that I was thrown back. Everyone loved it. No one was mad. It wasn't like it, because it really wasn't consequential. Like to their, like, the party wasn't. They had a pretty good out. You know, they could be like, he's too strong for us. Yeah. Especially because they then threw that Facidian bomb at him when he walked out. Because bad guy walked out, and they're like, Iroh's dead up there. And so they're like, we're throw the bomb at him. And I was like, okay, throw the bomb at him. The really big bomb. He's only like 20 feet away from you. And I was like, everyone make dexterity saving throws. You've also destroyed half this castle. And also given him a really cool burn for when he shows up later as a bad guy that your partner had betrayed you to help in that moment. So it's just a really cool dynamic moment that has had reverberations throughout our campaign that, you know, we're on 2.5 years now in that game, and they're level 13, I think, and they're getting into the real nitty-gritty parts of the campaign, and it was just a really, really good moment. And for me as a DM, the first moment that I was like, the first real moment where I was like, I can trust you guys to do your own thing now, and you will always make choices. I can go to them, I could start a game, I could walk in with nothing prepared, and they'll make a session out of it with their choices, which was a really cool moment. It was also the first time as a DM I was like, oh wow, yeah, they do. This is collaborative storytelling. Like, they write this story as much as I do. And like, I had always believed that before, but this was the first time that it was like, wow, you wrote that plot point. Like, that's an entire, like, you created an arc, you created a plot point that I hadn't planned. And that was solidified any obsession I had before that. D&D.
Yeah, it does. It's so good. It is so good when a player just goes and picks something you've given them and runs with it. I had a player who was playing recently. He was given a gift by a pair of Driders, and as opposed to just take it and run with it, he's like, how can I impress these things? And with magic, he sucked this present, it was a body wrapped in web, into a hole, and they were like, he's our god now. Like, he disappeared. His magic ate the yummy gift we gave him. Obviously, he's powerful. So that's got repercussions to play. And then that's just the whole thing that I didn't have to plan. It's just it's excellent. It's sitting right there for me. So yeah, excellent role players. Are a lot of fun to have.
Oh, yeah. That game of catch almost between the player and the DM is such a great part of D&D when you just, that perfect pitch to the player, they catch it and they pitch it right back to you, and it's the best. Honestly, I think it's the best thing about D&D.
And a lot of times, like, my one was a very small, simple thing, right? He was just like, I guess I'll get rid of this. And other times, it's like you said, like a massive betrayal. He has to have planned that and been like, I don't know what Sean's going to do here, but I'm gonna roll with it. I'm going to go in and be like, and I betray my everything. And you're like, you do? Okay. Alright, let's see how this goes for you. It's a bold move, buddy, but let's see how it works for you. And sometimes it does. And when it does, like you said, your story kind of writes itself, and it becomes this thing of, you know, because he could have just left them there, and they're like, what happened to him? Did they find a body? Did the bad guy say he's killed? Because I don't know what happened in your story, but if he returns to them, they're like, how'd you get out? Oh, just back door, snuck out, you know.
It's exactly what happened, you know. And the bad guy pretty much was like, he pretty much walked in and said, I'm here to kill you, and I'm not going to. But I want your help in the future. And the bad guy was like, fine. and then shot him with a firebolt and was like, they'll ask questions, this will answer them. Also, I'm going to give you a scar on your arm that lets me track you. It's dry on you. May have made a mistake. Bye.
Nice. Love it. Alright. Thank you so much for that story. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. If you want to find Sean, he's on ParadiceRPG on Twitch. I believe you guys have a Twitter as well.
Oh yeah.
And soon, hopefully, your videos will be up on YouTube.
Yes, so we got quite a few of them up there, but we are not caught up with our current episodes. So if you want to check us out, you can find us anywhere and everywhere. Paradise RPG. We're on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere where you find podcasts. We also post all of our episodes as a podcast. If you're someone who likes to listen to these very long D&D sessions on your car rides, like I like to do, you can find us there too. We are planning on having everything up to date in the new year, when we kind of do a bit of just a crunch to get everything in. If you want to catch up with us, but also if you just want to hang out and join us on Twitch.
You can also find Sean with his castmate Shannon, who's also from Paradise RPG, playing in the Scales Above on the Roll for Damage Twitch on Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for hopefully the foreseeable future.
Yes, where I play a star elf named Auric, who is also apparently god of the spiders now.
Alright, thank you so much again, and we'll hopefully see you all next time. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.